squad, welcome back to InhaleGamesHQ. You could call me Comm, and in today's video, we're going to dive beneath the surface of Season 18 Resurrection to talk about the patch notes. Most notably, the changes for this season do come in the form of the Revenant update, the charge rifle rework, and the rank changes we spoke about on the surface video, so I will quickly link that. But a few other legend changes, weapon changes, quality of life improvements, and bug fixes definitely help resurrect Apex this season. This will give you all the Apex facts you need to share with your friends, so if you learn something new, make sure to drop a like. But starting out simple with our map rotation, we'll have Broken Moon, Kings Canyon, and Olympus, and we can assume that they'll be that mid-season rotation. In Broken Moon, they actually added a building west of the core to the minimap, also a loot tick that wasn't correctly dropping loot, and they've removed some invisible collision above playing field. And on Olympus, indoor props without collision no longer blocks picking up loot. In Ranked, we did note some ring adjustments, but they actually looked at the ring game wide, and so we do have a few changes that will affect the pacing of the early and mid game as well as the overall speed of the match. So let's take a look. Ring 1 size has been increased by 10%, and the damage in Ring 2 has been increased to 4, up from 3, and then the Ring 4 damage actually decreased to 15, down from 20. The ring timings, however, are the biggest impact that we have here, and that's in the pre-shrinking phase, the actual shrinking phase, and this is all kind of being adjusted so that on smaller maps, games are lasting about 19 minutes instead of 21.5, and on the larger maps ending at around 20 minutes now instead of 22.5. Now, let's get into some balance updates. Starting with some armor changes, the white to blue EVO points required to increase is 200. It used to be 150, as well as to craft it has been increased to 200. They also fixed the overflow of damage to level up an armor and having that damage kind of carry over when you craft, so that's all fixed. Speaking of crafting, our crafting rotation sees the Rampage and R99 leave, and the Nemesis and Mozam with hammer points go in. Medkit price has been increased to 20, was 15. Double tap and hammer points otherwise have been removed from the floor loot, and the boosted loader and disruptor rounds are back on rotation. And that moves us onto our care pack weapon rotation. So we have the Hemlock Burst AR returning to the floor, getting a bit of an adjustment, the damage being reduced to 22 instead of 23, as well as the headshot multiplier being reduced to 1.75 was 1.8, and the ADS recoil increased. The Prowler, however, does enter the care package instead, this getting a damage increase up to 16 was 15, and the select fire is back. The gold weapon rotation sees the Hemlock, Peacekeeper, Alternator, Rampage, and Charge Rifle looking all shiny. And then we have just a couple loot spawn changes, this being the blue and purple weapon attachment spawn rate being reduced by 20%, and the blue and purple armor rate being reduced by 30%. Looking now at our weapon changes for Season 18, starting with the charge rifle, of course, we kind of already touched on that. We know the hit scan was removed, pre-fire removed, it can open doors, but we also know that the damage is retained when passing through another legend. This is actually 80%, and we know that the longer the distance, the more damage it does. We got some numbers here, 50 meters equals 75 damage, 300 meters equals 110 damage. The ammo consumed per shot is 1, and a few tweaks to the handling and reload times really do make this an all-new beast. All SMGs across the board have their ADS strafe scale reduced to 0.75 was 0.85, and the headshot multiplier reduced to 1.25 instead of 1.5. The R99 sees its vertical recoil slightly increased and the ammo capacity reduced, so the base ammo is now 17, white mag 20, blue mag 23, and the purple and gold 26. The M600 Spitfire, Spitty the Dragon, they've added barrels for improved stability, ADS recoil improvement, hipfire spread slightly improved. The Mastiff, the blast pattern has been tightened. And for hop-ups, we have the boosted loader, obviously returning this season. That's going to be for the Hemlock and the Wingman. This one, reloading near empty, will speed up the reloading and overflow the magazine. For the Hemlock, it'll overflow to 9, and Wingman, it'll overflow by 3. Looking now at those disruptor rounds that also came back for the Alternator and the Peacekeeper, it actually gives those increased shield damage. Alternator gets the 20% increase, and PK shield damage per pellet increased by 25%. The leftmost ammo on your squad member unit frames now represents their current equipped weapon. The L-Star low ammo indicator now only appears when the ammo is actually low, and the P2020 they fixed a high inaccuracy with the first shot when using ADS. Our throwables also got a bit of a tweak, so for frag grenades, the outer radius has been increased to 350 units, was 320, and the inner radius increased to 125 units, was 96. For thermites, they've also adjusted the visual effects to better match damage area. That wraps up our weapons and equipment, and lets us move on to the legend changes. Of course, Revenant being one of the biggest ones, so we won't really touch any more on that, but we will touch on the ultimate cooldowns, tactical changes, and other legend changes to hit us this season. Bangalore, the Rolling Thunder, has been increased in time to 240 seconds. Catalyst Dark Veil has also been increased in time to 150 seconds. Gibraltar's Bombardment has actually been decreased in time by about 90 seconds, making it 180 seconds to get. Horizon's Black Hole also has been increased. Loba's Black Market also increased, but the ultimate acceleration grants 25% all charge, up from 20. Mad Maggie, her Wrecking Ball, has been increased by 30 seconds. Pathfinder's Zip has been increased by 60 seconds, and Wraith's has actually been decreased by 30. So now let's look at their tacticals. Looking at Ballistic here, his Whistler, they've reduced the delay before an overheated weapon starts cooling down to 1 second from 2, and they've actually reduced how long it takes an overheated weapon to cool down to 8 seconds, was 12. Additionally, when running with Ballistic, the Car SMG doesn't default to heavy ammo when being converted into the gold weapon, with his sling, if you were running it in light, and the Tempest no longer applies to teammates when friendly fire is enabled in the firing range. Loba's Burglar's Best Friend has been reduced to cooldown in 25 seconds instead of 30, as well as for Loba here, the Lunar Wolf skin no longer has broken mesh. Looking at Seer's Focus of Attention, the slow duration has been reduced to 0.5, was 2.5, the silence duration reduced to 8 seconds, was 10, and the firing speed increased to 1.4 seconds, was 0.9. For Pathfinder, the voicemails during Ash Heirloom Inspect no longer stretch to 1610 resolutions. For Gibraltar and Bangalore, they fixed ultimates not triggering if thrown on Zip Rail Launcher or Skydive Towers, and fixed ultimates not cooling down if they are killed while holding the ultimate grenade. For Horizon, the Lethal Last skin no longer obstructs ADS on Prowler with the 1x Hollow, and for Rampart, Sheila's ammo counter now correctly rotated. Really quick for the world systems, they've actually removed exclusion radius that caused some POIs to get more objects than others, so now they should all have an equal chance of receiving, a ring console, survey beacon, or crafting workbench. But now looking at our game modes, starting with Control, capture bonus bounty reduced by 20%, capture time reduced to 10 seconds, was 20, score limit reduced to 1,000, was 1250. Spawn waves have been removed, so players should spawn instantly at the location they choose, and timed events should all start 30% sooner in the match. Now looking at the firing range, Ballistic Whistler is no longer heard across firing ranges when shot at the ground. Dummies no longer occasionally shoot while set in inactive, and Small Doors Audio and FX no longer heard/seen across firing ranges. Still looking at our firing range, but moving on to the quality of life improvements. The dynamic dummy spawning now remains off when you die. Legends Ultimate will fully recharge after loading into the firing range, swapping legends and dying, and a new Nessie. Continuing with our quality of life changes, the kill feed will now call out when players have been removed from the match. Multiple stickers can now be placed. Players can no longer interact with enemy holo sprays through walls. Ranked progress bars no longer bounces values while sitting on match summary screen. For Seer, the exhibit AR throw indicator is no longer offset from ground. For the support perk, crafting banners, after grabbing the first banner you can now immediately grab the second one as well. And for weapon mastery, new animated celebration sequences when unlocking and completing trials, as well as mastering weapons, a new animation icon in the HUD weapon element when the weapon is level 100. In French here, the in-game and lobby chat now available when language is set to French on console, and they corrected French translation for R301 Mastery Challenge at level 20. This does move us on to our final list, the bug fixes, and at the end, the bestest of surprises we got here, so let's get through it. The About Game Mode button now works while in game modes. They've adjusted sizing and positioning of elements on the Switch's communication wheel to give it more breathing room. The Consumables UI no longer freezes while in use and reviewing inventory. Dying or swapping legends with a golden backpack full of large healing items no longer causes the items to be thrown from the player in firing range. Challenges no longer flip to NBR, non-battle royale version, when tracking in ranked matches. They fix the black line in kill feed when a player dies out of bounds. They fix persistent gift notifications after returning to lobby. They fix players from different teams being able to ride in the same trident if they interacted with both the mounted Sheila and the trident simultaneously. They fix support pins occasionally being prevented from providing survival items. An in-game map no longer clips behind the challenges on 1610 resolutions. Players should now properly spectate the player who knocked or killed them without being knocked, and players can also no longer get stuck inside the trident collision box. Pinging Icarus Vault from the map with Vault Key and inventory won't present a malformed string. Predator badge no longer fades away on champion screen. They've reduced the animation in time of death recap in Control, TDM, and Gun Run. Spectres no longer stand in Catalyst piercing spikes. Unit frame consumable progress now updating in the inventory screen. Using remap controls on gamepad/controller no longer preventing pings from the map. And they fix players seeing the ranking of players they are spectating. The best for the last, and that is the audio bug fixes here, squad, which we are always excited to see more of. They fixed animations not playing audio in rare cases, also players' movement transitions no longer occasionally play duplicate audio events, but most importantly, they've improved prioritization for certain enemy movement sounds. So squad, super excited for another season. Hope you enjoyed this video diving beneath the surface. That is everything we can expect in the patch notes here for Resurrection. Quite a lot of system changes, a focus from Respawn to bring Apex back to, what we can call the good old days, but also, continuing it forward in the space and providing us with an ever-growing world of lore and unmatched gameplay. But hope you learned something from today's video. Remember to drop it a like if you did, and for more videos like this one, heck, and subscribe to the channel. I know it was longer, but patch notes often are, so I just want to say thank you again for being here, supporting the content, and enjoying the vibes. Of course, all links are down below, and if I missed anything or you just want to say hi, drop it in the comments. But as always, stay safe, stay gaming, and I'll see you in the next one. Comms out.
Teamwork making the dream work out there. Huge take on those teams. That was fun. That just earned the stream a gifted sub. Huge shout out to Misty and Howlin' Mouse. Let's get some. Sheesh.